Hey guys, I wanted to switch gears a little bit today and show you how to make a cloth face mask. Today we're going to make a pleated mask with a filter pocket, a nose wire, and elastic ear loops. So these are all the supplies that I've gathered aside from my ironing board, sewing machine. And I also use a rotary cutter with a rotary mat, but you can also use just scissors and a ruler. So I have my quilter's cotton, 100% cotton, cut to 9 by 13 inches. I also have my basic, scissors, pins. I have a safety pin to pull my elastic through the channels that we're going to create. This is the wire that I've been using for nose wires. It's just jewelry wire. I believe it's 18 gauge. It's something that I had. You can use 18 or 20 gauge jewelry or floral wire. People have been using pipe cleaners. You can use the little fold over flat elastics that come in your coffee bags. I've also seen people using bread ties, basically anything that's going to hold its shape and that you have on hand. So I've cut a piece of wire to 6 inches. I've got my jewelry wire cutting tools here, and then I have this nice soft stretchy elastic that I got online. I don't really like that 1/4 inch elastic. I did use that at first, but I found that it hurts my ears, so this is more like the elastic that comes in the store-bought masks or the surgical masks. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is fold your fabric in half with the right sides together, and you want your short ends to match up. And then I'm going to pin it with about a 2 to 3 inch opening in the middle, and that's going to be our opening for the filter. You can definitely use a ruler. You can fold it in half. Ooh, wow, I'm good. You can fold it in half and go about 1 inch to 1.5 inches from the middle on each side. Pin it like that, or you can, like I said, use a ruler, but I've made quite a few of these, so I'm just eyeballing at this point. And then we're going to stitch it. Got about a 1/2 inch seam. My machine has different settings, so you can move the needle left, middle, and right. I just have it set all the way to the left. So I'm going to stitch to the pin and back stitch. I'm not going to go any further, but I also don't want to sew over my pin. I've broken way too few needles lately. Way too many needles lately, excuse me. Our next step is going to be to press open this seam. And then you're going to sew along. Oh geez, gotta get in there. There we go. So I'm going to press that open, and you're going to sew either side down. You can skip that step. You can leave those just raw like that. But when you turn your mask right side out and you finish it and you pull your pleats around and stuff, and it gets worn, what can happen is over time they can start to kind of flip out like this. I mean, it's not doing it right now because it's freshly pressed, but you get the idea. Or these edges can start to fray, and it can pull all the way up into your mask. So I like to stitch those down, especially for the ones that, well, actually for the ones I donate and for the ones I sell. Just because I think that's going to last longer. So take it back over to the machine, and we'll stitch both of these sides. Alright, we're going to go ahead and sew these flaps down, we'll call them. I find it's easier to do it with the piece turned right side out. I just find it doesn't bunch as much. And I'm going to go ahead and sew as close as I can to the outer edge of each flap to try to hold it down, prevent fraying. You don't have to backstitch here at all, because once we pleat it, it's going to get sewn again across here, but you can backstitch. I'm not going to. I'm a rebel. I'm just sort of opening up the tube as I go. You want to be careful that you don't catch the underside, which is what I tend to do a lot when I have it turned inside out. Okay. Oh, I did just catch it with one little stitch, but it didn't go. At this point, we're going to go ahead and position our filter pocket where we're going to want it to be on the final mask. I've done a bunch of experimentation and I've come to the conclusion that 1.5 inches fits within my pleats and it's where I want it to be. So I like to do it 1.5 inches from the bottom. We're going to call this the bottom. Use my little ruler here, but you can also eyeball it. There we go. So this is my 1.5 inch line. It's a little over. Okay, so we're going to press it right there. Just going to give each side a quick press. Doesn't have to be perfect. I do like to get the other creases out though from where it was folded before. So now, when you have your mask, once it's pleated, okay, there we go. So here's the outside, right? And then you have on the inside, on the bottom, this little filter pocket down here. It's opening. But when you pull it shut, the pocket is hidden within the pleats. So that's why I like to do the 1.5 inches. That's where that came from. You also want to pay attention to the pattern on your fabric. This fabric has just a nice floral pattern that either way can be up. This can be up. This can be up. So it doesn't really matter. But this pattern clearly has an up where all the mixers and scales and everything are upright. So just make sure that your pattern is upright with the pocket on the bottom of the mask once you flip things over. Sometimes I forget to do that and it's kind of frustrating once you get everything put together and you look at your mask, your finished product, and everything's upside down or sideways. So just a little side note there. All right, so I'm going to take it back to my machine and I'm going to do another, I'll probably do a 1/4 inch seam down either of these sides here. So I went ahead and stitched both end seams, and then I used the filter pocket to turn the mask right side out. And I used my handy dandy chopstick here to push out my corners to make them nice and crisp, like that. You can use, some people use scissors, some people use a pen, some people use pencils. You can get a bone turner at the craft store. Pretty much anything will do. Oops, so now's the fun part. I'm going to go ahead and start pleating. So, trick that I have learned from my mom is to, so I put the filter pocket up at the top, facing me, and I'm going to take the bottom and fold it up, but I'm not going to fold it all the way to the top. I'm going to go just a little bit, maybe 1/4 inch down from the top. Press it. And we'll open it up and flip it over. That way our filter pocket is at the bottom. And you're going to pinch that crease that you just made, just give it a little pinch and pull it down. You can press first, you can pin first, whichever. Just want to hold it in place. Probably about 1/2 inch. Yeah, about 1/2 inch. So there's that side. And that one's about the same. Go ahead and pin it. If you want to really make sure they're exact, you can kind of fold it up on itself, line up either side, and make sure that your pleats match. And they do. That's pretty good. These will get easier and easier with practice. Alright, so there's our center pleat. So then we're going to go ahead and do the top one. You could flip it over, fold it, find your center point again. Pull it down. I've gotten used to eyeballing because, again, I've made a whole bunch of these. There you go. Doesn't matter if your pleats are all exactly the same. It doesn't matter if they are even, if you have, you know, they're all kind of bunched in the middle and then you have bigger sections on the top and the bottom, because the point of the pleats is to make it so that it will fit around your face when it's opened up. But it's still going to be the same size top to bottom. I probably already mentioned that. So I'll do the same on the bottom and oops, go here just to find the center point, and then you're going to pull your pleat down. You could also, oops, some people like to make it so that the pleats are all right next to each other, on top of each other. I kind of like to space them out. I don't know, it's just an aesthetic thing. It's all about your preference. There we go. It's about 1/2 inch. Okay, there we go. And then your filter pocket is hidden inside the pleats. Just going to give that all a nice quick press. If you wanted to, you could make it so that this bottom section is a little bit longer so it's even. Part of me wants to do that, but it's actually perfectly fine just like this. Press that. And then I'm going to take it back to my machine and I'm going to sew it here, top stitch right on the outside, and here. Now that our pleats are secured, we're going to get our nose wire ready and make a pocket for that. So I have my piece of wire here. I've cut it to 6 inches, and then I have these round nose, these are just jewelry pliers. I've already gone ahead and turned, let's see if you can see that, one side down into a loop. I just kind of wrapped it around the end here and then flattened it, and I'm going to do the same to the other side, making sure I go in the same direction. Got my loop, and I'm just going to try to press it a little bit flatter here. Again, you can use, people have been using pipe cleaners, zip ties, not zip ties, twist ties. Basically anything with a wire in it that's going to hold its shape. You just want to make sure that this sharp end here is not poking out. You definitely want to make sure it's flush with your wire. I don't quite have the right pliers for this part, so it's tough, but okay, close enough. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and we're going to find the top of the outside of the mask. You want to make sure it's not on the same side as the filter pocket. There it is. So outside on the top, because you want your pleats to be facing downward. So your top is right here. You're going to fold it in half and find the center. Okay. And then I'm going to go a few inches out from each one. You can actually even lay your wire right on top and see how long it is, how long it's going to need to be. And you want to leave just a little bit of room at the end for just some movement in there. So I'm going to pin that here to go about here. And again, if you want to make sure it's centered, let's see how I did here. You can fold it in half. Oh, I didn't do that well this time. And you can kind of move each one, move this one over a little bit, and then I'll move, oops, pin them together. There we go. And then move this one towards it. Okay, make sure that we're still going to fit in there. Absolutely. So we're going to sew ourselves a little pocket here. We're going to leave one end open. Oops, take the pin out first. So I'm going to sew straight down right where my pin was for the end of the pocket. Oops, let me center my needle here. There we go. I don't want to go too far down. So your needle is, or your wire is not very big. Just a couple stitches. And leave your needle in when you turn it, and it'll give you a nice corner. You want to make sure you're not getting your other pleats in there, so just pull them right out of the way. Just using the edge here as a guide. Go to where my pin was, leave the needle in, pick your foot up and pivot. Actually, what am I doing? I gotta leave that end open. Back stitch. I can tell you how many times I've sewn the end of that together. Alright. So now you have your pocket for your wire. Trim your threads. And then you can just take your wire, put it through the filter pocket. It's kind of a little bit tricky, but you just work your wire in to that end. You gotta get it through the pleats. There we go. And now you have your nice nose wire. And it can be changed out. So if you decided that you didn't like that wire and you wanted to try a pipe cleaner so it doesn't move around as much, you could stick that in there. You could try, all the other types. And if you found one that you loved, you could put it in and go ahead and stitch that end closed if you really wanted to. Okay, so there's that, and then we just go ahead and, oops, that's the outside, so we find the inside again, and you're going to take each end and fold it in about 1/2 inch. You only need enough room to fit your elastic in, so if you wanted to, you could just put the elastic in there, but you want to leave a little bit of room so it's easier to thread it in and out of there, and people can adjust it if they want to, if you're making them for sale. Fold that over and just pin it real quick. I keep seeing people using these clips instead of pins, and I really want to get some because they look awesome. And I've stabbed myself way too many times with the pins this year, making all these masks. Okay. So again, oops, a little harder with the wire, but we'll fold it up and check it. Make sure that both sides are about the same. Oh, that's pretty close. Yep, happy with that. And then I'll just go ahead and stitch right over the same line that I did to secure the pleats. I don't know if you can see that with the glare. There we go. So now that we've created the channels for our elastic, we'll go ahead and put that in there. So I have a safety pin, and I'm just going to pop it through this elastic. It's kind of tricky to do with this sometimes, especially when you're trying to film. Okay, there we go. Okay. And then you just thread your safety pin through there. Actually, it's easier to go with the direction of your pleats. And there you go. Now, if you were to sell these or if you were giving them away, you could leave it like this and then let the recipient or the customer tie it for themselves. So you can do I've seen a few people doing some knots that I don't know how to do, but it's some sort of slip knot where you tie both ends and then you can adjust it. I've just been tying it loosely, testing it, and then untying and tightening, loosening, whatever as I go. So we'll put the other one in, and that is your pleated filter pocket mask with elastic loops. Get in there. There we go. Okay, I'll give that a quick tie. Okay, there you go. Got your nose wire, so you can bend it to fit. Get your nice, soft, comfortable, stretchy ear wires so you can make them tight without folding your ears over, or your elastics, I should say. And your filter pocket, so you can take, say, a tissue, cut this to size, or whatever you've decided to use as a filter, and fit that in there. The bigger you make your opening for your filter pocket, the easier this is. That I will say. Especially with something like a tissue. But if you're using, say, used interfacing or something like that, it would be a lot easier, more stiff to get in there. Okay, there you go. Good to go. All right, thanks for watching.